Welcome to the Andy Staples Show. It is a bittersweet day because while we are picking the most important bowl games, and by that I mean the Duke's Mayo Bowl and some other games, it is the last time Ari, Nicole, and I will get together during the 2022 season to pick games. Guys, this makes me sad.
Are we not picking the title game?
I mean, we're picking the title game, but are we going to get a whole show out of that?
That's true. That's like 10 minutes.
I don't know if it's just me, but I do feel moderately bad about that.
I will say this experience as I look out on Mercedes-Benz Stadium out my window on the 56th floor of that beer can shaped hotel in Atlanta. This is the fastest hotel internet I've ever seen in my life. And I know as I say that, it'll probably blip out during the show, but I just want to say thank you to the fine folks at West.
Well, you guys look perfect to me. Not that you don't always, more especially in person, but on camera. I hear things good. I'm wearing a set of headphones my dad bought in a bushel basket in a gas station. I'm ready to ride, baby.
right next to a bunch of XFL hats.
Yes, that's exactly right.
It is fitting because you're not wearing one of your hotel hats, are you?
Just a Travis Matthew hat.
Yeah. I mean, it would have been more fitting if it was like the White Lotus hat and then $10 headphones that are the cheapest headphones you've ever worn.
So I'm going to head over to the Camelback Inn at some point in the next few days. Should I just get a Camelback Inn hat, or is that like Sports Writer cool?
That is Sports Writer.
All you need is a Camelback Inn hat and a CD wallet full of Bruce Springsteen discs, and that's the Sports Writer starter kit right there.
And a Medill crew neck.
And one of the Marriott credit cards.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
I've got
as a Medill grad, I that nobody listening to the show gets that joke, by the way.
As a Newhouse grad, I will digress.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, no one cares.
University of Florida School of Journalism, not named after anybody. So as a graduate of the Erin Andrews School of Journalism, because I'm sure she's going to get her name on it before I will, but we were the same class.
Not if I have anything to say about it.
Slightly different career trajectories, but we were the same class. So, guys, we got to pick some games, though. And I am going to start, again, as I said, with the most important game.
Yes, do it.
Maryland is a 1-point dog to NC State in the Duke's Mayo Bowl. More importantly, Mike Locksley and Dave Doran have both agreed to take the Mayo bath if they win. Mike Locksley strikes me as someone who is very game for this sort of thing. Not Dave Doran.
Okay, so I need to go through my entire thought process about this exact dynamic because it was the first thing I thought of. When we were getting the bowl pairings and assignments, I only cared that we were going to get people who are willing to have mayo dumped on their head. Mike Locksley, that night, on Selection Sunday night, was like, yes, I'm down. Mm-hmm. I'm in. Didn't hear anything from Dave Doran for a while, which made me think, okay, they're going to have to get a player to do it or someone in the athletic department.
Dave Doran had somebody explain this to him and sat there for a bit.
I think that people do too many things just for content, but I would have loved someone to film that moment for a true reaction video from Dave Doran.
They want me to do what?
And then he said yes.
What?
And then he said yes. And I love that so much because I want people who are going to go all into this or are going to hate it. And I think that he's going to
be so angry at whoever dumps the mayo. And if they bonk him in the head like they did Shane Beamer last year, all bets are off.
So one, I think they've learned from that. I think, last year I did a story on the mayo bath and they worried about the consistency of the mayo, how liquidy it would be. They had some water. They did some test runs. This year, I think we've learned about the weight of the mayo tub and making sure it's high enough so you do not accidentally concuss the coach. I think also they should make sure that no one is wearing a hat. I felt, and I've told Shane this, I feel like that was a little bit cheating to create a barrier between your head and the mayo.
Shane's no dummy.
No, I know. And he hates mayo. So that was part of...
Shane had Dak Joyner in his back pocket for that game. He's like, you remember how we recruited him? Well, remember how Will Muschamp recruited him as a quarterback? Yeah, he can still play quarterback.
That was an amazing bowl game experience, actually. Like, that's what we want in these bowl games, is weird stuff like that. A couple other quick Mayo Bowl thoughts that have nothing to do with the actual game. So, again, I think other things we've learned, probably want players to lift it. It does look heavy. I think they'll get a better angle on their coach's head if they do it that way. And also, sources close to the Mayo Bowl have informed me that there is definitely a chance that if it's Maryland who wins the game, there will be Old Bay in the Mayo, which is perfect.
So, Andy, would you rather eat a few spoonfuls of mayonnaise or be dumped with the Mayo Bowl
good question.
bath, but you can't wear a hat?
I think the bath would be easier for me, to be honest.
No hat, though.
Yeah, I mean, the smell's probably going to make me projectile vomit. We know if I put a spoonful in my mouth, I will projectile vomit. We've seen that on the show.
This is how I feel. I'm picturing cottage cheese in the same situation. I would also rather it be dumped on my head.
Yeah.
So you'd rather be like take a bath.
You don't have to taste it and eat it like that. Yeah, you don't. It doesn't have to go in your mouth. It can you can close your mouth, breathe through your nose, or like just try not to breathe for a minute, and it will be past you. I just think it would be worse to have to eat something. But I do think that this is potentially going to be an interesting game too. I mean, I like when we get matchups that we lost due to realignment. So I do like that it's two former ACC opponents. I also think both teams care and are going to try to win the game. And we've talked about that a lot on this pod, but motivation, it matters.
Mm-hmm. So MJ Morris, totally healthy according to Dave Doran. So you got MJ Morris or Ben Finley starting for the Wolfpack, obviously Tulia Tagovailoa for Maryland, but he will be missing Rock Jarrett and Jacob Copeland, who have opted out of this game.
I just don't know how Maryland's offense functions without those two guys.
That's my concern there, especially against this defense. I watching NC State against North Carolina with Ben Finley, I felt like they moved the ball adequately. I mean, again, I
think MJ Morris, they've also looked good with him. I mean, I actually think they were one of the more interesting teams because I thought they were going to just completely fall off after Devin Leary got hurt. And we saw 4 different quarterbacks for them this season.
Yes, 4.
And they still righted the ship. They still finished strong. Again, I think we'll learn, depending on how they come out in this game and how focused they are, this is really a direct correlation to how much Dave Doran wants Mayo on his head.
I mean, I'm all over NC State.
I want NC State to win this game so badly because I want to see if Dave Doran, how he handles that Mayo bath, because I still think he's going to want to punch somebody, even though he's agreed to this. We have seen him let loose after a win, though, like the cigars after beating Clemson. Oh, yeah.
Like, it is possible that he leans into this.
Well, and he will. That is the one thing you're right about Dave Doran. After they beat North Carolina, he always has something loaded up to say. And when that bowl game stuff happened, and remember, this team was robbed of its bowl game last year. That's when UCLA was like, "Oops, I realize it's like 3 hours before the game, but we can't make it. We can't play." So, this is a game that NC State has earned, even if it's not across the country and just close to home and against Maryland. I am taking the Wolfpack. I want to see Dave Doran get the Mayo bath, and I want to know what he has to say about it. Because you're right, Nicole. This is one where Dave Doran will have a one-liner loaded up, which is just jarring coming from him. So he'll be covered in mayo and saying something very strong, and I'm here for that. You're going to make some resolutions this week, and one of those, I guarantee it, is going to be you're going to work out more and you're going to stick to it. But it's hard to stick to. I know that. It was very hard for me until about 2 years ago when I joined the Peloton family. And now I feel like I'm working out with my friends and they're pushing me through this. I don't know Andy Spear or Adrian Williams or Selena Samuela, but it feels like they know me. And it feels like they know how to push my buttons and make sure that I am working as hard as I can to be the best, most fit person I can be. And here's the thing. You're probably thinking, Peloton, that's the bike thing. Well, I don't do the bike very often. I like the treadmill. I like the boot camp classes. I like the weights. I like the yoga. I've done the boxing. They've got something for everybody. You can mix it up. They've got great music. The personalities of the trainers will help you kind of figure out, I like this person. This person works for me. And it'll make you excited to open that app and say, they got something new for me. This is going to be awesome. I'm telling you, you'll be able to stick to it this time. So try Peloton risk-free with a 30-day home trial. It's for new members only. It's not available in remote locations. You can see additional terms at onepeloton.com/home-trial. But give it a try. I'm telling you right now, it'll be the easiest resolution you ever kept. I know some of you guys like me and you've shaved with cheap razors before. It is annoying. You get nicks, cuts. It's irritating literally and figuratively. Then you get the subscription services where they just keep sending you stuff and you got to figure out how to, do I want this month or do I just cancel this month? It's just a pain. That's why you need to meet Henson Shaving. Henson Shaving is a family-owned aerospace parts manufacturer. It's made parts for the International Space Station and the Mars rover. And now they're bringing precision engineering to your shaving experience. Razor blades are like diving boards. The longer the board, the more wobble. The more nicks, cuts, and scrapes. A bad shave isn't a blade problem, it's an extension problem. But by using aerospace-grade CNC machines, Henson makes metal razors that extend just 0.0013 inches, which is less than the thickness of a human hair. Henson Shaving wants the best razor and not the best razor business. That means no plastic, no subscriptions, no proprietary blades, and no planned obsolescence. So it's time to say no to subscriptions and yes to a razor that will last you a lifetime. Visit hensonshaving.com/Andy to pick the razor for you and use the code Andy and you'll get 2 years worth of blades free with your razor. Just make sure to add them to your cart. That's 100 free blades when you head to hensonshaving.com/Andy. That's HENSONSHAVING.com/Andy and use the code Andy. Speaking of coaches in the ACC with very strong opinions, we go to Pat Narduzzi's Pittsburgh Panthers, who will not look anything like the team that actually took the field in the 2022 season, playing against UCLA, which kind of won't look like it either.
The good news is we know that the Pitt players did make it because they hitched a ride.
The UTEP basketball coach gave 3 Pitt players a ride.
Joe Golding is Sonny Dykes' brother-in-law as well. Fun facts. But I love this story. To me, this is the perfect postseason, bowl season type story where you're at the rental car booth, flights are canceled, you recognize that there are Pitt players.
From Home Alone where John Candy comes up to Kevin's mom.
Yes, and we've all been at airports when you see someone with team gear. You can figure it out, right? He figures out that their Pitt football players need to get to El Paso. He's going to El Paso. They try to rent a car. They give him a minivan. The football players can't fit, so they had to get a different rental car. And then they drive 9 hours through the night together. I love it.
It's amazing. I just wish that they were playing polka music in the back. But it was Golding and his kids, his wife and kids. So I would imagine they got like a Suburban, and what a ride that must have been. The snack, because obviously they're driving through Texas. So Ari, I think we can be certain there was a Bucky stop.
I mean, I'm trying to think of what highway that would be on, because you go through the wrong parts of Texas, you can miss it entirely.
I don't think that. I think because they're going through the Metroplex at first, they're probably hitting one before they even get out.
Yeah. When I went on a 9-hour road trip with Andy, we lived one Bucky stop at a time. So I hope for their sakes that they were able to do that. This sport is unlike any other one. You don't ever.
UCLA is a 5.5-point favorite. Jake Bobo's playing. Chip Kelly said that Dorian Thompson-Robinson is quote unquote on track to play. The UCLA team will look a lot more similar to UCLA than this Pitt team will look to what we saw from Pitt. I'm going to go with UCLA because I honestly don't know what Pitt's going to be.
Yeah. I feel similar. We've also, I'm going to be very interested to see how the Pac-12 teams do in their bowl matchups in general, because I really do believe that the middle to top part of that conference was much improved.
Was very
we saw
good.
it with the quarterbacks, but the defenses were suspect across the board, and UCLA is one. But Pitt was one of the more disappointing teams in the country this year.
Yeah.
Still a revolving door at the quarterback spot. So I'm with you. I want to go with UCLA, but I also am going to be keeping tabs on the Pac-12 bowl record.
Yeah, this is the perfect opportunity for us to say whether or not USC was ever a legitimate candidate when we watch all the Pac-12 teams go up against top competition. I hate that conversation. I think it's really stupid, and I hope that we don't ever
I have a hard
it,
time having that conversation during the bowl season just because the questions of motivation for various teams, and then like in this situation where we don't even know. This is not the Pitt team that played this season, so it's very hard to judge.
Well,
So
I don't think we should make sweeping comments where like whenever the Pac-12 went like 1-8 and we were just like, oh my God, like I don't think it's that, but I am interested, like obviously the Oregon State Florida game, right? Like we know what happened there. We expected that they looked great in that game. It was to get to 10 wins. And then we see, Washington State fall flat. I'm interested. I'm just interested to see how these teams
beats
look.
Pittsburgh by 30, does it tell you more about the Pac-12 or is it completely irrelevant because of who they're playing?
I don't think it tells you much in this specific instance because of this.
No, but I think it's interesting, and I think it validates some things we felt about UCLA.
Yeah, I think UCLA made a big step forward this year because listen,
I do too.
I was very vocal in doubting Chip Kelly after the first couple of years. I didn't know that he'd be able to find it again, and he has. And I look at them as a team that could potentially be competitive again in the Pac-12, and then now they're going to the Big Ten. And you know what? Maybe they're going to be able to get a roster that can compete in the Big Ten. We'll see. But they just got a blue chip quarterback. Stars matter, Ari. 5-star quarterbacks from Michigan tend to perform well in the Big Ten.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how that all plays out, and I'm wondering if that'll, lead a charge to a program that has been not that effective in the recruiting world. I hope it's the next thing that helps them get to where they need to go.
Yeah, the Jim Mora era, they would get some dudes. Like some of the
they should be getting at least 3 or 4 legitimate dudes a cycle, but that's a conversation for Stars Matter, which just published yesterday. So go listen to it.
That's right. Everybody go listen to Stars Matter with Mitch Light and Ari Wasserman. Ari, if you want me to bother Mitch during the Peach Bowl, I'd be happy to. He's going to be there. So
yeah, you can give him flack for not being able to edit whatever story I run from the previous game. So awesome. I'm happy that he's going so he doesn't have to edit my stories.
There you go. Very interesting game in our next one. Notre Dame is a 2.5-point favorite against South Carolina in the Gator Bowl. The quarterback situation for this thing is fascinating. Spencer Rattler is playing for the Gamecocks. Spencer Rattler torched Tennessee, torched Clemson, has not said what he's going to do after this game. I think there's a chance if he plays really well in this game, you see him enter the draft. Because he's looking at the draft class going, huh.
And also, who on earth is betting against South Carolina right now?
Well, exactly. But Notre Dame, Tyler Buckner starting at quarterback for the Irish, the original starting quarterback from this season who got hurt, was replaced by Drew Pine. Marcus Freeman tells the quarterbacks, hey, guys, I'm going in the portal to get somebody. Drew Pine goes to Arizona State. Sam Hartman is probably headed to Notre Dame. So it's going to be wild. I don't know. This is a last hoorah for this Notre Dame offense here.
There is one important opt-out here that you haven't mentioned.
Oh, go for it.
The entire Notre Dame offense is not playing, which is tight end Michael Mayer. So good luck with that. Give me the Gamecocks, please.
Same. And, Andy, you mentioned this is the last hurrah for that offense. I mean, they need to turn the page from that. I mean, they were limited. They couldn't do much. To Ari's point, I mean, when your tight end's your best player and it's only him, it doesn't really help him do a lot of things when you don't have other threats. So I'm with you guys in South Carolina. Going back to the Mayo Bowl, so far there is a track record of teams that have won the Mayo Bowl, let their head coach get dumped in Mayo, and then beat 2 top 10 teams the following season. So I just think that
there's a 1-year streak of that.
Touch. Yes, there's a 1-year streak of this. I think
and the fact that it was in consecutive weeks too, that's the thing.
It was incredible, actually.
It's an everybody love everybody moment, guys.
That's the thing. If I'm Spencer Rattler and I know what my arm is, and I've seen myself throw, and I throw for 350 in this game and look good, I'm going, okay, maybe I'm not getting picked ahead of Bryce Young, and maybe I'm not getting picked ahead of CJ Stroud or Will Levis, but I can damn sure get picked ahead of everybody else.
He'd be a good tester too, wouldn't he?
Probably. The raw skills, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I'm with you. I mean, I was just starting to poke around on the draft and some of those projections, and woof, you are correct about this quarterback class.
Exactly. I mean, Hendon Hooker is probably the next tier down of the guys that have actually declared, but there were a lot of guys that that could have gone out that decided to come back.
Yep.
Because they got good NIL deals. I mean, Sam Hartman is just the latest of that. Sam Hartman was planning to go to the draft and then got quite a bit of interest in the NIL space from various collectives and realized, oh, you know what? I can go have another good year, make similar money to what I'd be guaranteed, and maybe raise my draft stock.
The draft stock question's the more interesting one. I know we're going to pick games, and Wake has already played this season, and he's finished his career there. But don't you think that Sam Hartman also needs to prove that he can play quarterback in a different system? I mean, like Wake is a system when you talk about like system quarterbacks, offense. But it's very unique. The slow mesh and the whole way it works. Like I do think that there is benefit for him playing in a different offensive system to show that to scouts.
And a good year at Notre Dame will show that. And I think Sam Hartman is going to be on the Chase Daniel multi years in the NFL plan. I have a lot of faith in that. But if you can get more money for 1 year than you'd be guaranteed based on your draft projection.
The smartest employee in NFL history?
Chase Daniel? Oh, 100%. 100%. No, he knows exactly what he's doing. His whole ethos is, what can I do to help make the starting quarterback's job easier? Like he comes in and he's like, I'm not here to take your job, dude. I'm here to make your job. Meanwhile,
he's made a crap ton of money in the process.
Exactly.
I'm
going to take the Gamecocks in this game too, just because, I don't know what Notre Dame's going to be. We move on to one of the rare non-ESPN games. Now we had one. The Sun Bowl is on CBS. We haven't been doing our sponsor thing because we spent it all on the Mayo Bowl. The Sun Bowl is Tony the Tiger. Everybody loves Frosted Flakes. They're great. The Gator Bowl is Tax Slayer, which is tax preparation service. It's our second one of those.
The better the teams that play in the game, the more self-explanatory the sponsors are. Have you noticed?
It does seem like that. Wyoming, a 1-point underdog to Ohio in the Barstool Sports Arizona Bowl. We know who's sponsoring that.
That one is an easy one to figure out as well.
Yes. This is the first time this game's going to get played. It was supposed to get played last year, but remember, was it Central Michigan dipped out when the Sun Bowl needed a team? And so they just like, peace out, bye. So now we get the Cowboys and the Bobcats. I don't know what's going to happen in this game. It's going to be on the internet. I'll be curious to see how many people watch because their metrics they're obviously not looking for as many viewers as ESPN.
Listen, guys, I don't think anybody watched more action than I did this year for obvious reasons. And Curtis Rourke, Ohio's quarterback, can sling it, dude.
Yeah, and the gambling community loves Curtis Rourke. He is by far their favorite Canadian. He is very lucrative for certain people.
I feel like a MAC game is gonna break out here.
I think that would be fun. I could live with that. I could live with a 45 to 43 game that ends when a team fails to convert a 2-point conversion because they don't want to go to overtime and miss their flight.
Yeah, the thing about the MAC game is it a high scoring game or is it a grab ass filled game? Like, what makes a MAC game?
Both.
Wyoming, from what I remember this year, wasn't necessarily a very prolific offensive team. So,
no.
But if they're playing a MAC defense, then maybe, the touchdowns will fly. I like Ohio in this game. I think Ohio's a better overall team from what I saw this year.
Yeah, Wyoming was a team that lost so much to the portal last year offensively.
Did they lose 30% of their roster last year?
Yeah, both quarterbacks who played in the bowl game dipped out.
Is Curtis Rourke playing in this game?
Oh, that would change things.
That would change everything.
Yeah, guys, it was a season-ending ACL in the second last game.
Give me Wyoming.
That is bad. That does change things. I'm still going to take the Bobcats, though.
Yeah, you can't change. Change your mind now. I flipped.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Bobcats too. Give me the MAC.
All right, the Trans-Perfect Music City Bowl. The game that we've been waiting for. We're doing these games in a different order than we've been going chronologically. I'm going all the way through the non-New Year's Six. Then we get to the New Year's Six. Then we get to the playoff games. We are now at the Music City Bowl. What do we think TransPerfect does?
No clue.
Something with transactions, online transactions.
Is it? I think it's freight, trucking company.
That would be a good guess.
But
they
wrong.
specialize in solutions, technology, and industries. Translation, website, app localization, multilingual, creative, and more. You can simplify multilingual content management with global link technology. Translation, I don't know what they do. I can't describe what they do. It does
My
seem like
favorite
it'd be
thing in the
useful if I
entire
designed
world.
apps.
The entire point of sponsorship is to get people to look you up, and then when they do, they don't understand your explanation. So why are you spending the money?
I have no idea.
Translations.
I'm looking at their family of companies, and I don't recognize a single one of these. So,
is one of them Taco Bell?
No, but at TransPerfect, we have more than 30 years experience helping organizations connect with their audience in any language. As Nicole said, translations. They help you.
Oh, it's translator. Good job.
That is confusing, though.
What did you think it might be,
obvious.
Ari?
Transatlantic busing. I don't know.
All right. This, of course,
confusing.
This, of course, is the best game of bowl season. Iowa is somehow a 2.5-point favorite against Kentucky.
That's a little over a safety for the Iowa fans listening. A little over a safety.
I don't understand how a human being could possibly lay points in a game where points might not be scored. Like what are we doing here? Like,
I don't know.
Points are a premium. 2 points is like a 14-0 lead right out of the gate, in my opinion.
That's why this is going to be such an interesting game, because can't take anything for granted. No one knows how.
Are you ready for the Joe Labas era to begin in Iowa City and then end when the Cade McNamara era begins with the season opener next year?
I am very curious how points are scored. This is going to be an all-time box.
Will Levis isn't playing. Chris Rodriguez isn't playing. There's like a ton of opt-outs on the Iowa side too, right?
Well, yeah, and
yeah, there's some. Yeah,
the weather's supposed to be terrible. Like every single thing that would impact a person's decision to bet an under is happening in this game, and that hasn't even taken into account that Iowa's involved.
But you have to. Destin Wade, by the way, will be Kentucky's starter. You have to pick a winner first, or a point spread winner first, before we get to the total. I know what we're all going to say for the total.
I mean, I don't know. I think Iowa could win 4-2.
I think I'm going to go Iowa. They were. If
Iowa wins 4-2, Kentucky covers.
Do you think Iowa could win 6? Iowa's going to win 6-2, cover, and no field goals or touchdowns.
I hope it's
I'm
like
looking at Kentucky's depth chart for this game that they put out this week. Most of their defense is playing.
Yeah, and isn't most of
defenses are not the issue.
Both defenses are playing, I think.
I believe so.
That's why it's going to end up 8-2.
Yeah, Iowa's whole offense is playing, which is the bad news. And the good news is...
Well, except for the quarterbacks, which might help.
Which, yeah, I don't know if that's good or bad news. And then the two best players on Kentucky's offense aren't playing. So the fact is, for whatever reason, and you tell me, Nicole, because I'm always a sucker for thinking that Iowa's going to cover. Like every week, I always feel like they're going to figure it out.
Wait a second.
Give me Iowa in the over, baby.
Wait. Have you seen this from the Daily
over?
Iowan? I can't tell if this is not an April Fool's story because it came out on December 22nd. It's Dateline Nashville by Chloe Peterson from the sports editor of the Daily Iowan. Sam Laporta will be the emergency backup quarterback for the Hawkeyes.
So that might be an upgrade, and I think we should try it.
Sam Laporta running the Wildcat.
Let's do it. Why not?
Wow.
I already made up my decision. I'm taking Iowa in the over.
I think Scott Dockerman might have even posted a video of him working as the Wildcat in practice at the bowl game. I don't know why you're taking the over. I would take Iowa and the under.
Because the under has been hit by everybody.
Oh,
every single thing that's happened to affect the under.
a photo of Iowa running the read option with Sam Laporte. What if this works? What if they score like 50 points and Kirk Ferentz is like, we're scrapping the whole old offense. That sucked.
And it was all Brian Ferentz's brainchild. Who knew? Like this has potential to get weird. It already did. This was already must-see TV. This is going to be the number one screen of whatever is happening at the same time. Is this the lead-in to the playoff games? Like this game?
Yes, it is one of them.
Love that. Love that.
Yeah.
It'll be the main
the preamble too for everybody listening to this podcast who's waiting to get to the big time games because I'm chomping at the bit.
Give me Iowa to cover, but the more important thing, the number's 31. I'm taking the over.
You both are taking the over here? Wow.
Give me the new Iowa read option offense.
It's really not that many points.
I know. We go through this every time. It's like a record-setting low.
Let's do a group parlay.
I'm gonna go
All
under.
three of us.
What is our group parlay of?
Iowa in the
Something?
over.
You just
Iowa in the over is probably
fine.
pretty good.
I'll go in with you.
You don't want to ring in the new year with Iowa in the over? Could you imagine if you hit that bet, what the tone that sets for the entire 2023 calendar year?
It sure
would.
It's
very different from the calendar past. So, all right, I'll go with you guys. We'll all go in the parlay together.
All right, Iowa and the over, which guarantees Kentucky the under will hit.
Andy, are you going to place your first college football bet with actual money?
We'll see.
Are you in? Because I'll put it in right now.
We shall see. All right, Mississippi State is a 1-point favorite against Illinois in the ReliaQuest Bowl. No jokes about this one, obviously. This is a tough spot for everybody. The Mississippi State players wanted to play to honor Mike Leach. Zach Arnett has been elevated to head coach already. They're moving forward. I don't know what it means for the game. Mike Leach called the plays, so they've got to have somebody else doing that. And they had a couple receivers hit the portal. Ra Thomas is already committed to Georgia, and then obviously one of their running backs hit the portal very vocally, and then you got Illinois. Chase Brown has declared for the draft. He's opted out of this game, correct?
Yes,
that's right.
Yes.
Yep.
So I don't know who's going to win this game. I think this is going to be. I think Illinois is going to be a pretty good defense against that offense. I think they're very disciplined, and you have to be very disciplined against the air raid. You have to keep everything in front of you, tackle the guy as soon as he catches the ball. And if you do that, you keep the score down, and you give yourself a chance. I kind of like Illinois in this game.
I'm not fading Mississippi State.
No, you think they'd win to honor Mike Leach? That would.
I want to honor Mike Leach.
I'm
going to honor him.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
I think they're going to win. I think it's going to be emotional. So yeah, that's where I am on that too.
All right, one more before we get to New Year's 6. We go to Jamlando. LSU is a 14.5-point favorite against Purdue in the Citrus Bowl. This kind of feels like LSU's springboard to 2023. Meanwhile, Purdue, Ryan Walters has been hired as head coach, but he's not pulling a Luke Fickell and actually coaching the team. So I can see exactly why Vegas feels this way. I'm fine with LSU by 2 touchdowns or more.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yeah, but guys, you guys are discounting the Drew Brees coaching factor. That's coaching.
True.
You're right.
Purdue,
I am. Give me LSU.
Bowl prep.
He's recruiting for Purdue in their. Yeah, I'll take Brian Kelly coaching for LSU with most of his offense and defense.
Drew Brees is a hell of a quarterback. Doesn't mean he's a better coach than Brian Kelly.
Listen, we've been too unanimous. Yeah, we've been too unanimous on stuff, so I'll take Purdue here.
What is a lot of points? Like there's a possibility.
It is a lot of
Purdue
points. That's what I'm saying. I think it's a lot of points.
All right, this one's a weird one because USC's got a lot of players hurt, but Tulane, this is everything for them. Everything.
Is Caleb Williams playing in this game?
They are making it sound that way, though I don't believe
we don't know definitively.
So let's assuming that Caleb Williams plays, who has a better quarterback on the field.
Caleb Williams, USC does.
I just wanted to give some shine to Tulane for retaining their outstanding young quarterback in Pratt. And will give us something exciting to talk about next year too. I feel bad for USC fans a little bit. I feel bad for myself and the bet that we made, but you go from being 2 quarters away from 2 quarters away from potentially making the playoff to now playing in a game against Tulane. It's just there's no winning here, and Caleb Williams has nothing to gain whatsoever, in my opinion, in playing in it. So
you could win by 2 touchdowns, and they're like, yeah, you were supposed to beat Tulane by 2 touchdowns, but if you lose to Tulane, it's like, oh god, the world's ending.
And your best player who was hurt and was the reason why you probably didn't beat Utah, though I think there's some debate about whether or not they still would have lost. Is coming back next year to try to, he won the Heisman and now he's going to try to get him over the hump a year from now. Shouldn't even play. Like, we got to have. Yeah. Should we talk about like mid-career opt-outs, or is that stupid?
So are we supposed to start the Jadeveon Clowney conversation now?
Yeah, I was going to say, Williams? Like, for the whole season he shouldn't play, or you're saying
I'm saying he should opt out for this game and play next year. Or, you could already make the case that he could opt out for next year, but I don't want. That's not fun. This is the Bowl podcast. We don't want to do that. I just don't think you should play in this game.
I think that's fair. Well, when you're coming back from injury, I don't think you should push it for a game.
You have nothing to win. You have nothing really to gain as a player for playing.
No, and this is one of the teams. I mean, how many times have we seen this? Like, this was a team, because of the way they were playing, where they were positioned at the end of the year. This is a disappointment because it was playoff or bust. The season didn't start that way, but it ended that way. So I'm going Tulane here. Motivation is a big deal. It's a big deal for them. They did step up. They kept their coach. They kept the quarterback. They are, I think, very well positioned in a conference where they're losing Cincinnati and UCF and Houston to the Big 12. I'm very interested to see what happens with programs in what we call the Group of 5. Maybe Group of 5 goes away. If they can become playoff mainstays in the expanded playoff with access to this thing. So I'm intrigued by all of that. I think it's a big deal that they kept their coach and the quarterback, and I just think they're going to this matters quite a bit, and they're going to play like that. And I'm with you totally. I don't think if you're USC, I don't think you rush anything. I don't think you make Caleb play. You let him have his off season and come all the way back in the spring. There's no reason for USC to risk anything. And I also just think that they had their Super Bowl and they lost it in the Pac-12 championship game. So this is just, it's an obvious letdown.
I'm still taking USC in this game. They only got to cover 2.5. Caleb Williams may play, according to Lincoln Riley. I realize they're still down a lot of good players, but I still think they have enough talent to win this game. I think the Clay Helton era USC teams had enough talent to win this game. So I think I'm gonna take them. I'm good with that. We move to the orangest Orange Bowl in Orange Bowl history. Oh, we didn't do our. Hold on, we got to go back to sponsors. The Cheez-It Citrus Bowl. Both bowls in Orlando sponsored by Cheez-It. They've got the Cheez-It hotel rooms. We learned this week that it is one Cheez-It, singular is a Cheez-It, but multiples of that snack are not called Cheez-Its. They are called Cheez-It crackers.
We also learned that if you live in one of the Cheez-It rooms this week, you have to wake up to an alarm clock that screams, "I'm wake up feeling the cheesiest."
I woke up feeling the cheesiest, coach. Stupidest commercial in college football.
Very catchy.
They've been using it for 4 years, but at least I know what it's for, not like the stupid one that uses Magic Carpet Ride by Steppenwolf, which I've been told is for Goodyear. It does not make me want to buy tires or care anything about Goodyear. So
wait, I'm sorry. Is the Orange Bowl sponsored by Cheez-It?
No, just that's the.
I just assume that something this orange with two teams this orange, that there would be Cheez-Its involved.
Capital One sponsoring the Orange Bowl.
Okay, well, that makes me a little bit sad. Now that there's multiple Cheez-It Bowls, I just assume that there's more of them.
Guess who sponsors the Cotton Bowl? Goodyear. There you go. We know what you do. You make tires, but you don't make commercials that make me think about tires, so too bad. All right, Capital One. So Jennifer Garner is sponsoring the Orange Bowl. That's great. Clemson in their orange, Tennessee in their orange. Clemson is a 5.5-point favorite. Joe Milton starting for the Vols at QB. Everybody gets to experience the Joe Milton experience again. If you're not a Michigan fan or didn't watch the Big Ten in 2020, you may not have recalled what that looks like, but in pregame warmups, he will look like the greatest quarterback you've ever seen. There may not be a lot of touch on the ball once the game begins. That
give me Tennessee. I'm here for the laser show.
Give me Clemson. I'm here for the Cade Klubnik show. It is his first.
I'm really torn on this.
How much does Dabo just get killed if Klubnik comes out and is like 21 of 24 for 390 yards?
He already was the ACC championship game. Everyone was like, "Did you just play the wrong quarterback all season?" The hay's in the barn.
When that discussion happened, I couldn't have been happier to be me at that point.
Sorry.
No, I'm just saying, like I was like the only human being that was having this discussion 2.5 months ago. So,
we're not the only human. We talked about it on the show constantly.
That's what I'm saying, but I'm the reason why it happened. And you call me a moron.
You're the reason why. I didn't call you a moron. I just said Dabo's sticking with DJ. Like, it was clear after the Syracuse game, he was not going to Cade. Should he have gone to Cade?
Yeah.
In hindsight, yeah, probably. But Cade didn't really show anything against Syracuse.
He was also put in bad positions when he was being plugged into.
Not against Syracuse, but against Notre Dame, he certainly was.
Against Notre Dame, yes. But in general, I mean, like, if you want to play that quarterback, you handle the whole situation differently. He didn't want to.
If Dabo Swinney started the season with Cade Klubnik as QB1 in fall camp,
they're in the playoff.
And that's like, I was having this discussion with a friend the other day. And you guys see what Brock Purdy is doing. Yep. The 49ers, right? And I thought that this is such an interesting thought process as it pertains to college football and the NFL. Of if Trey Lance didn't get hurt and Jimmy Garoppolo didn't get hurt, this man would never see a snap on the field this year, right? He comes in and is he 3-0 now or 4-0? I think he's 3-0. And he plays very well, and there's some discussion right now about his placement in the franchise's future. And it took 2 players to get injured in order for the coaching staff to give him his shot because they had no choice. And you see this. Why are these coaches who are making in between $8 and $12 million a year unable to identify what they have on their roster until they play? Like, is it a gamer thing? Is it a lack of reps thing in practice?
Well,
because
you covered Urban Meyer continuing to start.
Yeah, JT I know. He's absolutely in. That's what I'm saying. It's an epidemic. What needs to happen for coaches who are in practice every day to identify that Brock Purdy is good? Well, it's strange to me.
Brock Purdy started as a freshman, dude. I mean,
I'm talking about in the NFL.
In the NFL,
he never would have gotten a shot, and there's a chance he might be better than both of them.
I don't know that he's better than both of them.
I don't know.
He's got a here's the thing. Being the quarterback of the 49ers is probably the easiest of the quarterback jobs in the NFL because you have an incredible offensive line, maybe the best left tackle in the game. You have a weapon in the backfield. You did have 2 weapons in the backfield before Debo got.
You had 2 very dynamic and versatile weapons.
And you've got Kittle and you've got Brandon Ayuk. And
but this isn't the only example of this.
No, Ari, I know what you're saying. I think that some of this comes down to seniority and the leadership stuff, the experience, game reps. Like, a lot of people they value those things.
How many times on this podcast, though, Nicole, Andy, have we said that Dabo Swinney is the best or one of the best talent evaluating coaches in college football? Why did he fail to evaluate the talent on his roster?
Well, and it's interesting because he's been in this situation 3 times, and he's made the correct move at the right time only once. He made it too late twice. He went to Deshaun Watson 1 game too late, or actually 1 quarter too late in 2014, and it cost them the ACC title. Like, if Deshaun Watson starts against Florida State in 2014, they win the ACC. And
correct.
Trevor was the correct time and the correct choice, and that all worked out. And then this one, he didn't make.
Okay, here's another hypothetical. The weird COVID season where there were a lot of weird results. Now looking back, a couple seasons out, if DJ doesn't play the way that he did against Notre Dame, then doesn't all of this go differently? Because then doesn't he get benched last season.
Right. He may not be the assumed star coming into the 21
but
season.
This is the whole thing. It's just like, watch the tape, be the coach of the program, collect your $8 million and evaluate your roster properly, regardless of the outcomes of games. Like, that's the thing that's like crazy to me. And Dabo's not the only one. I covered a program for 10 years under Urban Meyer that had a hard time playing their best players at multiple positions. The quarterback one is the one that we just talk about the most. And it just, to me, it's like, I feel like that's square one. So, I know seniority and locker room relationships, and you don't want to split the locker room and all the stuff that everybody says all the time. But sometimes, I think it would just be as simple as telling everybody when they're recruited and when they're on the team that the best player on the field will play regardless of how old they are. And that being the expectation in your program. And who does that sound kind of like?
Kirby Smart and Nick Saban.
And who are the most successful teams in the country?
Georgia and Alabama.
Okay. So I don't know who's going to win this football game. Give me the laser show, even though I can't wait to see Cade Klubnik throw for 674 yards and 6 touchdowns in this game. And then next year, maybe Clemson will be back in the playoff. Maybe.
I'm going to take Clemson to cover in this game.
I'm taking Clemson.
I just want to bet on Joe Milton. Give me.
Go ahead.
That's fine.
You're welcome to.
I might actually do it in real life too, because I want to feel the sweat.
I would really like to see Joe Milton blossom and be that guy next year and have a great year. I think that'd be really cool.
Is Joe Milton a comparable to DJ at all, or is that just me making a stretch?
No, Anthony Richardson would be the more accurate comparison, I think.
Yeah, you're right. Okay.
So now, here's a Stars Matter thing for you, Ari. You know who is playing Cade Klubnik at Clemson's practices?
Who's that?
Or at Tennessee's practices? Nico Iamaleava.
Oh, yeah, I should have known that. Yeah. You mean the good quarterback with a good arm? Yeah.
Hey, Nico may have a shot next year. Let's just say that.
Yeah, hey, it's cool that he's playing. Yeah.
We move on to the Sugar Bowl. This one's sponsored by Allstate. I've criticized some commercials, and Lord knows we see enough insurance commercials, but I will say the Allstate Mayhem commercials are spectacular. I love them so much. I still laugh every time when the Pee Wee football team is in the car and he's like, "We are small, but we are mighty." Annoying. Mm-hmm. And then the mom just falls asleep and crashes into another car.
How quickly do we all just say Alabama and then move on to the playoff? Is it that simple for you guys?
Well, we have to do the Rose Bowl. But yeah,
I do want to talk about the Rose Bowl. But my one quick question is, do you think that Bryce Young, Will Anderson, etc., you think they're going to play the whole game?
I think they're going to play as long as the game's competitive, which could be the entire game. Very much the whole game.
Yeah.
Okay. I also, if those guys are playing, I'm taking Alabama.
I'm excited to see them play one more time. I think K-State's going to give Alabama a very good game, regardless of those guys playing. I think this is very important for K-State, and K-State is a very disciplined team. Mm-hmm. I'm excited to see what they can do with a month of prep for Alabama.
And they do have the advantage in the give a crap factor there too. And you might say, well, it's the Sugar Bowl. It's a big game. Well, it's playoff or bust at Bama, let me tell you.
But we've seen this before. It was the BCS era. But remember that really good Michigan State team that had to play Alabama in the Citrus Bowl? And you're like, I don't think Alabama cares much about being here. They're supposed to win the national title, and they beat the snot out of Michigan State.
Yeah.
We also didn't think that people would play in this game, so that's already one.
It feels like it ups Alabama's give a crap factor considerably. Yes. So, I'm going to take Alabama in this one. They are a 6.5 point favorite. I think they cover. Utah, 2.5 point favorite against Penn State in the Rose Bowl. Utah gets to play actual DBs in the Rose Bowl this year as opposed to last year when they were so banged up. And these poor people are trying to cover Jackson Smith and Jigba. And it still was an amazing game.
I was going to say, it was in part because of that game was so crazy.
Utah would have won easily.
Are they still going to break out those uniforms with the roses on them?
So I love.
Yeah, no, they're going sharp again. They're going to look good.
I love those helmets. So I just want to say, I know we're going to make picks on this game, but this is the game that I think could be the best game of the whole postseason, and I'm so excited that this is the matchup I wanted to see. I think both teams care quite a bit about this. This is Utah getting back to the Rose Bowl after never playing in it back-to-back years. Penn State hasn't been there since 2016. Penn State has first of all, trying to send off Sean Clifford on a high note, but also they have so many young players and a bunch of impact guys that played as true freshmen. Like the fan base is excited about the future of this program and where they are. And so I think it's going to be really, really fun and electric and just a lot of
oh yeah,
Penn State's trying to white out, right? I think they're trying to do a white out. Maybe
that's awesome. That's
so it's gonna
good.
be like red and white. It's gonna look like the Rose Bowl logo. Once they do the aerial shot of the stadium, it's the last traditional Rose Bowl. It's just gonna be awesome. And I'm really excited that this is the matchup. I think both teams are gonna play really hard, have a lot of talent on both sides of the ball. It's just gonna be really, really fun.
So, 2 big opt-outs in this game, one for each team. Joey Porter Jr. for Penn State, Dalton Kincaid for Utah. But, yeah, I'm with you guys. I can't wait for this. I'm going to take the Utes. I think the Utes get their Rose Bowl win to match their sweet helmets.
I felt bad for them last year because
I did too.
They were winning by a ton at halftime, and, it means a lot to the people who root for that program to win one. I'm going to go with Utah, too.
So
I make my pick. I'm gonna take Penn State here.
All right.
The freshman running backs,
Stars matter.
Them. Stars do matter, and Ari, they're a good case study for that because of how many impact freshmen that they had that were in that recruiting class that James Franklin was really excited about. So anyway, I'm gonna take Penn State. I think the future's bright, but I think the future is also now.
So Prudential, by the way, your sponsor for the Rose Bowl.
Insurance.
We know what they do. Exactly. The next one. Now, the Fiesta Bowl's had some interesting sponsors throughout the years. They had the IBM OS2 that one year, where that was on the logo on the field. They had Battle Frog that one year. I still don't know what Battle Frog is or does and don't care. But now they are sponsored by Verbo. We know exactly what Verbo is, which means we're going to get the Verbo like Tebow commercial so many times during this game.
You know what, though? It did teach me that it's not VRBO.
That's true.
I thought that's how you said it this whole time until the Tebow commercial.
Does it really matter how you say it as long as that's the one you go to instead of the other one? So.
No, it doesn't. But I will say that there was an effective commercial.
So this is the playoff. We're in the playoffs. TCU, Michigan. The Wolverines are a 7.5-point favorite. When last we saw them, they were in Columbus, torching Ohio State in the fourth quarter. J.J. McCarthy had his breakout game. He'd never been asked to really carry the offense. He needed to do it for the first 3.5 quarters the first 2.5 quarters of this game, and he absolutely did. I have a hard time picking TCU in this game, even though I love TCU and they have won every way you can win. And I know that Michigan is going to focus on Quentin Johnson. I think they're going to be able to get him the ball anyway, but I just think Michigan will wear them down, similar to the way that Kansas State did in the Big 12 title game, where they just kept running out.
My computer is got like 8% battery left, so I don't know if it's like freaking out.
Don't worry, we're in the playoff.
Yeah, don't worry, Ari. We're just gonna cut. You're just gonna cut out before making.
I've been waiting
picks.
50 minutes to get to this, and now my computer's gonna die. I think that Michigan's going to win. I don't think they're going to cover the spread. I think that TCU is a very disciplined football team with explosive playmakers that has won, like Andy said, in multiple ways this year from behind, exciting, not exciting. And they're too resilient of a team to just get their doors blown off with a month to prepare for a team that I think they match up with.
Yeah, I feel like that's
well.
the least likely outcome. Like if Michigan beats them, I feel like it'd be close for a half or so, and then Michigan just ultimately wears them down. That feels like the more logical path for a Michigan win. What is the logical path for a TCU win? How does that work?
Okay, so I'm with you guys. I mean, I think Michigan's going to win this game. Not sure if they're going to cover, but here is the stat that I have been clinging to and thinking about all week long, okay? According to Sports Info Solutions, the Wolverines have seen opposing quarterbacks run just 39 times this season, excluding sacks and kneels, the least amount in the nation. So to me, that just says that they have not really faced anyone like what Max Duggan can do for them in designed runs and also scrambles. And that would make me nervous because we haven't really, like, we saw Michigan and their pass rush and the defensive front and all these things after replacing Aiden Hutchinson and David Ojabo, but they were mostly going against quarterbacks that weren't even really moving around.
They were going against CJ Stroud, not Justin Fields.
Yeah, and even Talia Tagovailoa didn't really run against Michigan. So that would be the concerning part. And I do think that maybe people are overlooking TCU in terms of talent, defensively, all the different things. So, I think it's some of that, but it's also them doing all the things that they've done, which is just they don't die in these games. They come back in the second quarter. Max Duggan puts the team on his back. It's all of those intangibles as well.
Well, the thing too with TCU is that you also have to leave the opportunity open for the back door. And Michigan could be wearing them down, and then they might be up by 14 or whatever, with 6 minutes left in a game that they ran away with, and then TCU, who never has given up all year, scores a touchdown with 2.5 minutes left to hook you. I think too, the reason why we've seen so many blowouts in these semifinal games is because it's always been a team like Alabama versus Washington. And though Michigan does have a stark talent advantage in this game, you don't have a superpower with a blue chip ratio of 99.7% going against a team that got in because they won their conference. So I think that the blowout thing is kind of off the radar for me.
Also, a couple other things. We've seen Michigan settle for a lot of field goals this season. Mm-hmm. That's been a concern. They're still without Blake Corum. Obviously, they've won their biggest games of the season without him, but that is a factor. And even when J.J. McCarthy has had these big passing plays like he did against Ohio State, overall stat line wasn't as impressive as you think or it felt watching the game. He still only completed 50% of his passes in that game.
No, yeah, he hit a couple big ones in a row, and it felt like a lot more.
And the big ones he was throwing to were people who were running around wide open. I mean, it's not like the guy was out there looking like Peyton Manning. So
I think there's ways to talk yourself into TCU keeping this close or possibly, this coming down to a final possession. I do think Michigan is the better team. I do think that both these teams have been second half teams in totally different ways, and Michigan has absolutely worn its opponents down and then just kind of ran the ball, throttled it. That offensive line takes a lot of pride in that. All of that I believe in, and so I do think they're going to win. You guys are, in me kind of playing devil's advocate, is kind of talking myself into TCU covering, though. So I think that's where I am on this.
Two possessions is a lot. I think 2 possessions is a lot in a game that isn't Georgia versus Pac-12 champion.
That makes sense. Let us move to the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. We know what Chick-fil-A does. They make delicious waffle fries.
Nuggets are a prime too.
The Nuggets are outstanding. I once ate 61 during a show.
I don't know how long it takes for them to figure out that a spicy nugget would be good. I'm not sure why that's taken so long, but we'll let them think about that on Sunday.
You were living in Columbus when they test marketed the sweet potato waffle fries. How were those?
Oh, I never ate that. No, I've never had it. I know Columbus was a test market, but I never ate any of that stuff. I don't know why. I never got around to it.
It's going to be so funny when Ari's computer just dies and
I'm just so excited.
This game is
in this game. I
Chick-fil-A.
Can I go first, please?
Yeah,
yes,
go ahead.
Go.
I think that if you pick Ohio State in this game, you are insane. I have no idea how anybody on the face of the earth could sit here and look at you straight in the eyes and come up with a real rational reason why they think you could win. I think you can make a rational case that they could keep it close for 3 quarters. But what has Ohio State done in any walk of this season that gives you the confidence that they could put it together? There's nothing there that would make you think that they should be able to do this. So I do think it's interesting that the spread has stayed at 6.5. And if Ohio State somehow wins this football game, then we can all react to how crazy that is after. But if you pick them to win beforehand, and I'm saying it to you two, I would love to hear what you have to say is the reason for that, because I can't come up with one thing.
Nicole, do you mind if I play devil's advocate here?
All yours.
But you don't believe it. You're playing devil's advocate, but you don't believe it.
Well, here's the devil's advocate take on this. So Ohio State has played 1.5 terrible quarters. Basically, that last Michigan drive of the third quarter on, Ohio State was horrendous.
They gave up,
They're actually okay most of that game. They're doing fine for 2.5 quarters in that game. they're not challenged through most of their schedule. Like they hadn't really had their, as the Georgia players were talking about, having their composure tested. That was the way they were excusing away almost losing to Missouri. But they have not truly been tested until that Michigan game. They got punched in the mouth. They did not respond well. They had a lot of time to come back and practice and have physical practices, which Ryan Day said they did have more physical practices. Now, do I believe they were more physical than what Michigan and Georgia were doing at the same time? No, I don't. But let's say they did more physical practices. They hit more, inside run drill more, tackled more, and they are now a more fundamentally sound team that happens to have a ton of great talent. Georgia and Ohio State, probably the most similar teams in terms of what they brought in recruiting and where they're projected to go in the draft. Alabama is the only other one in that discussion right now. So potentially they learned something from that game. You know, if
I haven't seen Ohio State put together their talent in 2 years.
I got you. I hear you.
I'm with Ari on this, and just thinking like we know the top end, and
if they put it all together, they can play with Georgia.
Yes, my thing is they haven't given us any single reason whatsoever to consider they're going to put it all together.
Oh, I'm taking Georgia to cover in this game.
Yes, I think Georgia's going to cover by a lot.
Well, Georgia has been one of the teams that has blown out teams in the college football.
This might be 7-7 or something at the end of the first quarter, but Georgia is Michigan, like on the times table. Like how many times better?
Yeah,
I think I also wonder. And again, maybe this goes
it's in Atlanta.
Ways. Yes, it is in Atlanta.
And I don't think many Ohio State fans. And as we're recording this, I'm in Atlanta. It's a little early. We haven't seen a bunch of people yet. I'm guessing a ton of Ohio State fans are not coming for this game.
Well, they didn't think they were going to be in it.
Right.
And then you get the number one.
If you're an Ohio
seed.
State fan, why would you spend money to go to
this? You're just going to wait and see if they win and go to LA if they do.
Yes.
But you can drive to Columbus to Atlanta, so maybe that helps. But
yeah, I just think I'm super curious as well about the idea of being embarrassed, losing a game where you needed to be tougher, you need to be more physical, et cetera, et cetera. You lose that game, you think you have 365 days until you can kind of show that that's not who you are. Now it's actually 1 month as you're going up against Georgia, whose strengths are the same as Michigan, if not better. So,
and they had an entire year to prepare for Michigan with that same chip on their shoulder, and they didn't even have an offensive wrinkle that makes you wonder, they
weren't actual underdogs in that game. They are here, and we talked to some of the Ohio State players here about that, and they all kind of differ in how they feel about it. Some are like, I've been an underdog my whole life, and I'm like, not since you put on scarlet and gray, dude.
Nope.
But you are now.
What about flip the side? Are we still concerned about the defense? And we're talking about some of the big plays JJ McCarthy had. He had not thrown.
How could you not be concerned about their defense?
Yeah, I know. So I'm just saying there's concerns, not just that the offense hasn't.
Yeah, the whole team.
In fact, I agree.
I'm shocked that the spread has stayed under one score.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it's not like there's been a ton pouring in on either side. It seems like, for numbers I saw, people.
What did it open at? Wasn't it? It was about this.
I think it was like 4.5 or 5.5, and then it moved to 6.5.
Yeah,
but it hasn't moved much.
It hasn't moved either direction.
The line
since.
in the other game moved down, right? I think
it did. It was 9 to 7.5.
Yeah. So I think Georgia's better. I think Georgia's more prepared for this moment. I think they're the more physical team.
The better coach team.
And look, if Ohio State does get blown out, which I don't think they will, but if they do, this is going to be a miserable offseason for Ryan Day.
Yeah.
Like, I know I have a column in The Athletic that came out Thursday where I basically, this is a massive opportunity for Ryan Day, or it could be the game he regrets for his entire life, because they're already having an existential crisis based on what happened in the last two Michigan games.
Well, there are only a couple of different games that actually matter, right? In the way that Ohio State's
and Ohio State should never feel just happy to be anywhere. Like
No,
they are supposed
but like
to.
These
beat
are the
Georgia.
games, and I know people would be like, "Well, look at his overall record or whatever." Or when Ari wrote about how uncomfortable it was having lost to Michigan twice for Ryan Day, but winning against basically everybody else. That's the standard at Ohio State. It is beating Michigan. It is winning in the
beating
CFP.
Michigan State and beating Rutgers and beating Maryland does not release dopamine.
No,
Exactly.
There are a lot of wins in there, but I think Ryan Day is 2-3 in his 5 biggest games.
And you can't pull the Georgia's on a different level. No, you're Ohio State.
You're supposed to be at that
the
level.
highest level.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's the problem. And the half glass full people will be upset about it, but the issue is you're going to be judged against the team that you're like. The thing is you lost to a team that you're supposed to be ahead of.
Right.
Already.
And now
if
you're
you get
playing a team
embarrassed
that
by a
actually
team
has
that's
more
supposed to be your
talent than
peer, and then you're not your peer, then you are now looking in the mirror wondering, what is this program right now? Which is how coaches get uncomfortable. So
and because of that dynamic, your rival may be playing for a national title as well.
Yeah, and might win the national championship. I don't know if they'll win it, but they'll be.
It's kind of it is a nightmare scenario for Ohio State.
But there also is the small glimmer of hope that Ohio State could play Michigan in the national championship game, which I think would break televisions.
Oh yeah, it would. The ratings would be incredible for that game. But think about this: if you're Ryan Day, you could either be on Sunday one of the most hated people in Ohio, and everybody's mad at you, and everybody's gonna be mad at you for a long, long time, or you could have beaten Georgia. And now you have the opportunity to avenge a Michigan loss and win the national title.
If Ohio State beats Georgia, and if you heard anything I just said for the past 5 minutes, it's a huge if.
I heard you.
They're going to win the national title.
They're going to
regardless of who they play. Yeah.
Okay.
Because that would be a team that figured it out, and Michigan doesn't want to play Ohio State if they figure it out.
That's a good. I think that's a good note to end on before Ari's.
Yeah, because Ari's computer's going to die anyway.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. Ari and I will see you after the games. Ari's at the Fiesta Bowl. I'm at the Peach Bowl. We'll give you reasonably live updates and reaction from that game. Nicole, thank you so much for joining these pick shows this year. It has been a pleasure. Everybody listen to Power Hour with Nicole, which will continue through the offseason. And I can't wait to see these games.
Enjoy the games. Happy New Year.
Happy Mayo Bowl.